some of you have noticed I'm losing my voice here, a little sinusitis and issues going. But so Jeremy mentioned something this morning. Talked about using progressions, and so that's really what I want to show you here is a progression of throwing. That what I've thought about the last couple of years is trying to get away from the idea of drills per se. Because a lot of times guys have come into the Cardinals organization when I was there, and they're coming from a high school or a college, and they're doing different drills that have absolutely zero connection to what happens when you throw the baseball. And I would say to them, all right, why are you doing this drill? What are you trying to get from this? And they'd say, I'm trying to stay on top of the ball or something. A lot of times they're doing some drill just because it was shown to them and they just buy it. And so what I've tried to think about is that with the things that I have talked about in the last 2 days, throwing is throwing. So I want to have progressions of throwing. And so I'm going to show you a couple little steps here. So first, tell you what, I'm going to put up, these are videos of 3 kids. And one of them, I should see if I can get, okay. So I'm going to show you three guys they're throwing, and this is 30 frames per second video. And just kind of watch these to start with, okay? Okay, I'm going to let this run through so you can see this. This kid's 13 years old. Okay? And here's his 9-year-old brother. That's 240 frames. Darn it. Oh well. I want to find one of him at 30 frames. Okay, now this is their 17-year-old cousin. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you with your naked eye here, just watching this a little bit. Who's the best thrower of those 3? Small, medium, or large? Which one? Small. No question. Okay? He's got way better arm action. And so if I show this, if I pull up one here. Okay, so here's 240 frames per second. Just watch his arm and his shoulder. Okay, is that internal rotation dominant or not? Yes. That's all shoulder. It's just okay. He's just not very connected. Fortunately for him, he doesn't throw very hard right now. If he did throw hard, he'd tear something. There's no question. Okay. And I'm going to show you a couple progressions here as we go on. But to be honest, that guy. Okay, this was the first time when I took this video. First time I ever met this kid and worked with him. And I was with these guys for about an hour and a half. I had no clue how to help this guy. I'll be honest. And I mean, He's got a long, long way to go. He does not move his body well. Okay? His body is not very smart. So, I mean, I try to get back, and I told him, I told his uncle, who I coached in college a long time ago, he's got to start like at ground zero. I mean, that's a guy that's going to have to do some things to get some body awareness and understand how to rotate, because he doesn't know how. Okay, and then if you look at the little guy, just watch his throwing arm here. Pretty good rotator, isn't it? And what you see is, if I go back here, and I can get this going frame by frame here. So his shoulder and hip are pretty well connected. I mean, he's rotating. Okay, so watch right here. See how the elbow is extending? Shoulder hasn't internally rotated yet. Boom. There goes the internal rotation. Now, as he gets a little bigger and stronger, that's a kid who's got a chance to throw pretty hard and be healthy. Now, if you watch his brother here, who, and by the way, so this kid, if we said who's the most athletic in the mindset of, well, this is what we think athleticism is. Guys that can move really well. This kid's got a live body. They were over playing basketball afterwards and just watching him move on a basketball court. He's quick. He can jump. Not quite coordinated in rotating though. So watch this in high speed. It's not bad. Better than the older one, but he doesn't really know how to rotate all that well. It doesn't get as much power as he can. Okay? So well, that's not bad. Does he use his lower body very well? No. Doesn't get anything at all out of it. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to run this first. This is the first progression, I think, and I'll get the volume up here.
We want to use a throwing progression. So rather than thinking of this as a drill, we want to throw. And the first thing we want to be able to do is we want to get guys to be able to use their scaps correctly, to get their arms in sync. We are going to have to get our legs in sync and to learn how to rotate, but rotation really is the key. But first of all, the ability to understand what your scaps have to do and how your scaps have to work together. And that they really need to, you can call it, they need to roll up, roll down, or you technically, if you want to think about how they protract, they retract, they elevate, they compress. Okay, so this is the first step of the progression. So Owen here is going to simply get a little farther than shoulder width apart. He's going to start the ball here, and we want the glove to be, the glove arm to be pretty much equal with the back foot, okay? Because, and there's a reason for that I'll explain. It's much easier to rotate. There's a little abduction there. It's not a counter rotation, but it's a little abduction of the shoulder. So, as I bring this shoulder forward, the back hip goes back, and that's where we're going to start. All right, so he's just simply going to throw want the action to be initiated by the front shoulder, the front scap. And what he's going to do is he's going to pull this back in order to rotate his torso. And that's all we're trying to do. All right, go ahead. Okay, so that's all.
All right, so the first progression that all I wanted to get out of this, and I think this is a way that you can try and get people to understand what the arms are supposed to do. Think back to the first night when I showed the spine. Okay, so where's the rotation of the spine coming from? What part, or what part of the spine is going to generate that rotation? It's the thoracic spine. Okay, so it's really here in your scap area. Okay, and so let's see, Stefan, I'm going to use you again. All right, so you're going to jump in the air again. All right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about it. You're going to get here, take your front arm out like this. Okay, this hip is going to come back. And you start, okay, as you jump in the air, you start your rotation with what? What did I just talk about? Exactly. You're going to pull this back. Okay? So go ahead.
Just jump
Start. You're going to jump in the air and do that 360. Yeah?
Oh, 360, okay.
Yeah? It's not bad. Okay? Try it again. Okay? So, thank you. When you're throwing, that's really what's going on with your upper body, with your thoracic spine. That you're pulling, as I pull this shoulder, and it's really my scap, okay? I'm pulling this back. As the scap comes down, my shoulder externally rotates. My thumb goes from down to up. My elbows are flexing. So you really want the throwing arm to move involuntarily. Okay? That if I were to do this drill, and you're going to start a little wider than shoulder width, get it in a hinged position, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this back. Okay? What else rotated? I'll do it again. Watch. What else rotates?
Hips.
Not my hips.
Pelvis.
My pelvis. Okay? What's going to happen? I'll do it this way. What's going to happen with this front hip? What should happen? And Jeremy talked about this. It's the same thing in hitting. So watch if I do it this way.
It's internally rotating.
Yes, it is. Okay, it's a slight internal rotation as my pelvis is rotating into it. Why does that need to happen? Stability. Okay? If you see a pitcher, a thrower that does this, is that a very stable hip? No. Are you going to throw to your max potential? No. Are you going to be able to decelerate your throwing arm very well? What do you think? No, you can't. Okay, so this first progression is just to get guys to understand, I got to rotate. Okay, and one way, think about this also. Okay, so that if I'm throwing that way, right, where should you see my belt buckle when I finish? And when I release the ball, where should it be? Where my belt buckle should be pointing straight ahead. If I do this, and I kind of go and I try and stay closed, where's my belt buckle pointing? It's pointing that way. Where's the ball going to go?
That way.
Arm side. Okay, so if you have guys that they throw when they pitch, if they're always missing arm side, what's happening? Good rotators or bad rotators?
Bad.
Bad. Okay, so that's the first first progression here, first phase. All right? Here's the second one.
We're going to try and sink our front hip and front shoulder. Okay, so what's going to happen is that we're going to start in this position where we have our front foot. I'm going to do this right-handed. I'll show you this way. So I want you to do that way. So, okay, so that we're going to start here. The front hip is going to be neutral, maybe slightly internally rotated. Okay, and I'm going to do everything else the same right here. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this front foot just slightly, and as I throw, I'm going to rotate the front hip, rotate the front shoulder. So I want to be able to get those two to work together, because that's what has to happen. You have to sync up the front hip and the front shoulder so you're able to rotate. Okay, so Owen, I want you to come over here. And so let's do one without a ball here. I'll hold the ball. So, demonstrate. Okay, that's it. That's how we're going to try and do the second step of the progression.
There's one thing I'll ask you. With Owen there, what happens to his head? You've seen him throw a couple balls. He didn't throw that one, but he went through the motion. Where's his head go every time he tries to throw? It's going forward. What does that tell you? What's it tell you? What word? There's a word he can't do.
Stabilize.
He can't stabilize. Okay? He's swaying, right? So, and again, you're going to see a whole lot of your guys that they don't produce a whole lot of power. They can't throw accurately. That's what'll happen, is that they can't stabilize their center in order to rotate very well. Okay? So again, the idea with this is because, in fact, I'm gonna pull up let's pull up Scherzer here. And I think you'll be able to see it here. So now I'll play it frame by frame. I want you to watch Scherzer's front shoulder and front foot. Okay, his foot's going to tell you where is my... Why can I not do that? There we go. All right, so from right here. See that? Front hip, front shoulder works together. Okay, so the idea of this drill progression is to now start getting the hip and the shoulder to work together. So I can do the same thing, right? I'm going to get in a position where I can kind of stretch, load those three planes, and I'm just going to be able to lift and rotate, okay? And I don't want my head to go forward a ton, right? I'm just here, and all I'm going to do is turn the hip slightly, rotate my upper body, throw the baseball, okay? That's the second one. Now, some guys are going to have, they can do it just like that. Okay, the younger guy that I showed you, he does a whole lot of things really well. He can move past 1 and 2 here. Here's a guy. I want to show you this guy. This is a major league pitcher. Was. I think he's been hurt.
Love it.
Okay, that's Carter Capps. He was throwing 100 miles an hour. He's been hurt. What's his problem here? So, now, right here, he looks pretty good. Okay, so let's run it from here. Right there, how's that?
The shoulder starts moving faster than the feet.
Yeah, a little bit. He gets going there, but it's okay. But now watch what he does. What's his front leg doing? Front hip.
Opening. Same close.
Didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Okay? Didn't do anything. He didn't rotate. Yeah, totally linear.
Not rotated at all.
Didn't rotate. Now when he lands here, he's so, if you were to see this from the first base side, he is so far forward. Okay, his head is forward. Now he can't rotate. So his arm is dragging. The only thing he has left. Question, Stefan?
Yeah. Will you say that is the excessive elbow lifting and having a really late turnover here is cause of that too, that he has to drag his arm because he's just not.
Yeah, I mean, it all,
at the right time?
yeah, it all kind of goes together. That if he, again, think about external rotation of the throwing arm should be involuntary. It's a function of I begin to rotate. Okay, right? When you jumped in the air and you're here, what do your elbows do? They drop, you externally rotate, scaps roll down, everything locks in, you can rotate your rib cage fast. He's trying to keep everything closed and then get it up. He's not connected. So he has no choice, but this is going to be a lot of shoulder internal rotation right here. See that? Yeah. So he had Tommy John surgery, then he's had some shoulder issues, and I don't know if the guy will ever pitch again.
Can you show us again?
Yeah. Nice. So you see how as he rotates, where did his left shoulder go in relation to his right? I know it's not zoomed in here. His left shoulder is coming here. Okay, whereas if you see a lot of guys, again, if your head is going forward, right, think about posture, posture in motion. If your spine is going forward too far, are you going to be able to rotate and get the head of your humerus to stay in the socket, be on time? No. Your arm is going to drag. Okay, so it's getting the scaps. That's why I think it's so important to get the scaps to do what they're supposed to do. So here's Scherzer again from the front. I'll play it slow. All right, so let's go back here to Okay, so that was the second progression. Here's the third.
All right, so are we good? Okay, all right. Okay, so hang on. So we're gonna do the third progression. All right? We're gonna try and get a mini stride, but we really want to get the rotation of the front shoulder, the rotation of the front hip. Okay, we want to get these together. So the next step, all we're gonna do is you could use some line like this. We're gonna start here. Okay, we're in the same position. We have our glove on line again. The shoulder is abducted, but we're going to take the front leg and we're going to put it back on line with the back foot, and then we're going to hinge back. Now it's really important that you hinge back. This is where we begin to get to some really important stuff. Okay, that if I try and do this, but I let my head go forward, which a lot of guys do, I am now quad dominant. I'm screwed from the beginning. Okay, I'm not going to be able to get things in sequence. So what I have to do is I have to take this hip back. I have to sit into my glute and use my hammy. Okay, I've got to keep my head on line. I want to keep a neutral spine. Okay, a neutral spine, and I'm right here in this position. So that as I do this, right now all I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate. I'm going to do the same things that I did. I'm going to rotate this front shoulder, pull back, and externally rotate the front hip.
Okay, so rather than try and have a really long stride, and let me ask you, typically, who are the best throwers on a baseball field? Shortstop?
The outfielder,
Catcher? Who else?
outfielders.
Center fielder, maybe right fielder. Okay. Do catchers take a really long stride when they throw?
No, they don't have the time.
Do shortstops take a really long stride? Do shortstops get the ball and say, "Oh"? No. But what do you have to do to be a really good shortstop? You watch a shortstop or a catcher, they get the ball, they're rotating. It's a really short stride. Okay, all it is they lift, they kind of hinge a little, turn this hip, turn the shoulder, boom. That's it. So that's what this progression is really just very small, and you can put a line in front of a guy. I've done this with I did it with some of our Cardinal guys where, I put them on the foul line, and I say, okay, you can't stride past the foul line, and I just take 1 foot. Say, okay, you're right here. That's it. This is all you got. Right here, you got to get everything in sync. Okay? So that's the third one. Now, I'm going to ask you guys, if you were trying to think about this and progress a guy, what's the next one going to be? Where are you going to go from here? Yes. You're going to just take a little longer stride. Okay? Because what did I show? Right? What do we want to stretch? Well, you saw Scherzer doing, Verlander. They're just stretching this line right here, stretching the spiral line, right? Creating that load in this plane. Okay? The right to left plane. That's all we're going to do. Okay? So, without showing that video, this is all you're going to do. Start in that same position. Rather than being really short, I'm just going to... Yes?
Is that the moment when you explained the magic stone?
Probably the next progression is where you would use the magic rock. Okay? But a little bit there, you could. That would be... if you want to get a guy to do that, just put the rock under him and let him start right here with his leg, foot on the ground. But hey, you got to sit into this here, okay? You got to drive that rock into the ground, and then externally rotate, okay? You can, and sometimes the cue that I will use is say, I'll stand behind a guy, okay? Axel here, do me a favor, stand right here.
So I'll stand behind the guy and I'll say, take your back knee and point it towards me. Okay, so I could get here. Because that's going to give me the cue of I have to really externally rotate to load up my glutes, just to load into the ground.
What is the sitting on the chair, like Jeremy said we're doing, is it the same as the rock, basically?
Yeah, same idea. And you could do that if you wanted. You could put a chair in here and say, hey, sit back into it. Okay? All right, so the last progression is, thank you, yeah. The last one is, well, now let's put everything together. Okay? You got a picture. Let's try and get to this position right here and do what Scherzer, Verlander, the best guys do. Okay, so let's start here. Okay? So now, in this one, they may have to practice. Look, just right here. Right? So, and I'll do this. Yes, Tom? Okay, all right. So, tell you what, Stefan, you come here again. I'm going to use you again as a guinea pig. So, go ahead and get to this position right here. So I'll get guys like this and I'll say, okay, pretend that you are holding a 50-pound kettlebell. Okay? I want to put this down. I'm pulling on it. Is it easier to take that easier? Yeah. Yeah, it is. Okay, now let's do this again. Do it again. Okay? Your hands are here. Easier here or easier here? If you were holding a 50-pound kettlebell, thank you, you'd want to get it out here in order to be able to hold on to it and put more force into the ground. Yes?
So, you just think progression-wise, especially with like kids and all that stuff, partnering them up and maybe giving them like some sort of like a band where they each have to keep that position, they pull and they try and knock each other away. Would that be something that would kind of help with stability? Right, and that would kind of teach them that they have to sit down in order to be more stable. That'd be like something that would work.
Play with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you guys will come up with ideas that works. Don't look, and then hopefully this is one of the things that you guys will take away from this. I don't have all the answers. Jeremy doesn't have all the answers. Dave didn't have all the answers. But what we all do, hopefully you see this in common, is we're going to try different things because you never know what's going to unlock it for the guy you're working with. So, yeah, anything that you might do with that, try it. It may not work. It may work. You never know. Okay? Questions? Yeah?
When you talk about putting pressure and pressing down on the rock, do you see any danger that somebody bends not far and then gets too small?
That they get too low?
Yeah. Do you see that? Or when would you say what is too low? What is just
If you were to measure, okay, like Nolan Ryan, I'm not going to pull the video up here. Or well, you know what? I got it somewhere. Just answer this. I got to find this. I know I have it. It'll be pretty quick.
What about Tom Seaver? He got a low.
Yeah. Yeah, all right, here you go. Damn it. Where do I have that? All right, let's do this here. How'd that happen?
press on the button?
Turn red. All right. Okay. Give me 1 second, 'cause I got a great example of Nolan Ryan here. Yeah, here we go. Watch how low he gets. He's almost down to 90 degrees. Okay, if we were to measure this angle, you can't get too low. If any of your guys can get to 90 degrees, beautiful. They're going to be throwing 90. Okay, or whatever. And when they get to be an adult, they'll be able to throw really, really hard. Okay, so now, maybe, you know, if you say, well, you're collapsing on your back leg, I'll just say the teach that you need to stay tall on your back leg. That's what I call UFB. Anybody want to guess what UFB stands for? Utter bullshit. Okay? Yeah, you want to be tall right here, but then you've got to throw something hard, you've got to get force into the ground. And the only way to get force into the ground is to get lower. Other questions? Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that if you stride shorter, less shortstop catcher, you're able to rotate better. So my question might be a dumb question. Why do we teach to stride that far? I've heard guys who are all out long strides, which I think is difficult. But I've seen more guys actually be too weak on the front leg and not being able to rotate at all. So why we actually, if you say it's good to stride short, why do we try to extend the stride? There's deception, I guess, but then what else?
All right, now we're really starting. Deception, that's UFB. Okay? Deception is what the ball does. Okay? But the long stride, the most efficient strides are going to be between 85 and 90% of your body height. Okay? So, in a good way here, I'll just show you.
Will you let it be?
I'll show you Scherzer. Scherzer is going to be a good example.
Can I add a question? Does forward movement do anything, or is it more rotation?
Okay, so watch here. I think you're going to answer both the questions here. Okay, once he gets to this point, what has he done in those three planes? The three planes of movement. Forward, back. He's loaded it up. Okay? He's stretched those lines. The only thing left is for him to rotate. Is he going to rotate efficiently? If he had a really long stride, where's his spine going to be? It's going to be very forward. It has to. Where's his head going to be? Very forward. Your arm is going to drag. Okay? So, from right here, let's watch where his foot goes. Once he's stretched this out. When he begins rotating, did his foot keep going forward, or did it just drop into the ground? Just dropped. Now, he's going to get some forward momentum because
He's rotating.
he is rotating. Okay, but why else? From right here, watch how he does get a little forward momentum. Now he's not going to try and bend his back. Okay, that's another nonsense teach. It's going downhill. Okay? Look how stable that front hip is. How he's rotating. Yeah, his head goes forward because his torso is going forward because he's rotating downhill. So he lets go of the ball right there. The best hitters, Jeremy, what's that front knee going to do? When,
It's gonna extend that walk out
and why does the front knee extend?
to stabilize that front head and help you with
Yeah, front hip is stabilized as you rotate around. The ankle and the knee and the hip are all extending. That's what happens with Scherzer. Okay, so if you see guys who do that, they're rotating very well. If you see guys that do this, not necessarily that good. Now, Tom Seaver was actually rotating pretty well, and you can find video of Seaver sometimes where he ends up here, and then you see some where he ends up kind of like this. Okay? Yes?
Does any of this differ if the guy crossfires when he throws?
I'm sorry?
Does any of this differ if the guy crossfires like Ariel?
That's a good question, and that's one where I'll throw this out to you. Okay? If you really load your glute properly and you do things the way you're supposed to, are you going to crossfire?
Hopefully not.
Probably not. Now, you might be able to. Bumgarner has a little bit of a crossfire. Sale does. Arrieta does. They all move pretty well. I don't think they're as good as Scherzer is. And that's a little more difficult move. Okay, you know, if I get out here, yeah, I can still rotate. It's going to be a little harder.
And they've all had arm issues.
Yeah, Sale has started to have some issues because I think it's all about timing for him. His timing is a little different. More so than arm issues, I'd be worried about their hip because their hip and their back. Jared Weaver was a guy who moved pretty well but had a big crossfire, and he started having hip and shoulder problems and back issues as he got on in his career. So, again, most of the time, the reason why guys crossfire is because they're in their quad, okay, and it pushes them that way. Question?
What about Lincecum's delivery? I mean, what's your take on that? I mean, that's a different beast right there, but did it, I mean, he got the most out of his size, but did it lead to his quick downfall too?
Yeah, I think, there were some issues going on there. He did some things very well. I've got some video of him. But he also, I think he was a guy that, yeah, because of his size, he was really trying to get absolute maximum out of his body. But some things changed that he had listened to his father and followed kind of a pretty strict training regimen. And then once he had some success, he kind of got away from that. He had a breakup with his father, and he got bigger. He started lifting weights, went away from some things that had gotten him to where he was. I don't know all the details, but I do know that he changed some things. So, that was very unique. Would I teach that? No. But I think, you're going to see some guys, and this is the trick, okay? If you get guys who are at a certain level, okay, and maybe beyond 18, timing is the critical issue. Okay, to me it's timing, right? That you got to be able to look at, well, when are they rotating? Are they? And I see a whole lot of guys that try and stay closed and they just keep drifting forward and they don't rotate on time. Now younger kids, let's just try and teach them how to load up and rotate and be online and do things efficiently, if that makes sense. Okay, any other questions? What do we got? Time for a question or two?
Two more here.
Okay.
Two more.
My question is about sidearms, because once in a while you get the kid that naturally throws sidearm. What you should look at in the matter of rotating and the shoulder alignment with this?
Okay, what's the only difference between a guy that throws from here or here and a guy who throws from here? What's the difference? Your spine. Okay? So that guy that wants to throw from here, and you see Scherzer has a really low slide. He does everything on time. He doesn't have a lot of spine tilt at all. So you could still, if it's just comfortable for him, okay, just right there. That's fine.
So we're not looking at the arm slot, we're looking at the general rotation of
Yep.
the
Yep. If you can pull up the Hiroshima article that I mentioned, if you Google Messiah Hiroshima, you're going to find several articles, and you pull up the last one that he wrote in 2011. That one's the Holy Grail. It's heavy math. Okay, there's some heavy math, but in the end of it, he gets to the nuts and bolts and says, look, this is what matters. But he's got some really good diagrams of the skeleton and what happens. Question?
This one's not really mechanical, but I noticed Scherzer is, and I've got this issue with a lot of guys. I've always heard that as a righty, you want to be on the right side rubber to create some kind of angle, and Scherzer is really far on the right side rubber. But for some reason, all pitchers that I see naturally, righties go on the left side, and they really struggle with being on the right side. So and maybe it's for Jeremy too, the question, is it really a factor, this angle? Are your hitters liking it? That the guy throws more in
Here's what I would say, okay? How many pitchers, all ages, okay, as they move up, guys you're going to work with, guys I worked with the Cardinals, okay? Do you think more pitchers have poor timing and are a little late in rotating, or are more pitchers right on time and they rotate beautifully and they're square to the target? Wait, more late. Okay, so if I'm late and I'm missing arm side, what's the first thing that most coaches do with that guy to fix it? Oh, let's move this way. Let's move towards the first base side if I'm a righty, and the opposite for a lefty. I mean, I fought this with some guys that I worked with. Well, he needs to move on the right side of the rubber. No, he doesn't. He needs to rotate better. He needs to be on time. Okay, so my view is four-seam guys, if I'm a four-seam fastball pitcher, okay, and you're going to have guys that you'll work with, they might be 13 years old, and they can throw the ball, it's got a little carry to it, right? Good four-seamer. I believe four-seam pitchers should be on the right side of the rubber, because now they can throw that four-seamer across to a right-hander in on a left-hander. If a guy has a sinker, it just naturally, it's not a 12-6 rotation. Okay, that guy should move this way because now the ball's going to bore in on the right-hander and away from a lefty. And I think that's where that pitch will play naturally. So, but my first thing, if I was coaching younger guys, I want to see, can I get him to throw a 12-6 ball? Again, shortstops. Do we want shortstops that throw sinkers? And catchers that throw sinkers? No, we want guys that have some carry on the throw. That's natural. That's the way you're intended to throw a baseball, to get carry to it. Yeah.
Jordan Hicks with Cardinals.
Yep.
How hard was he throwing when he got drafted, and how much development did he need to get to where he is now at the top of the 5?
All right, I'll give you a couple quick Jordan Hicks stories because I have a video of Jordan Hicks that, to me, he was the best mover in the 2015 draft. And I wore our scouting director out. Hey, what do you got on Hicks? What do you got on Hicks? Okay, how's he doing? Who's seen him? Well, he had a little issue, so we take him in the 3rd round. He shows up. He had a little shoulder issue, probably because he'd been going to tryouts and airing it out. He was 93, 94. So I was working as the rehab pitching coach that summer, and so he was with me, and then he throws. It's the heaviest ball I've ever caught in my life. It's like catching a hand grenade. Just, okay. The next year, then he went out and he was pitching, and he was probably 94 to 96, 93, 96. Would break break bats, just one after the other. Very good athlete. He was a guy that, you know, my colleague that worked together closely with me, we were just like, this guy moves well, just let him go. There's a few tweaks there. It was really timing. And then he just naturally, in fact, he tweeted a picture of himself last year from when he was a senior in high school. I think he had just turned 18, and he weighed about 165 or 70 pounds, and now he's probably he's about my height, 6'2", 6'2 and a half, 210, maybe more. I mean, he's a man, and it just happened. And he's a guy too that if you were to ask him, there's a video out there somewhere, maybe offline now, but when he threw 103, 104 miles an hour last year, there was an interview with him that the Cardinals media people did, and they asked, so, you know, what do you do to throw hard? He said, well, you know, sometimes I'm just on the mound and I think, throw it harder. He doesn't know, but my thought was, when he wants to, if a guy like that, okay, and Stefan, I'm going to pick on you again here. If you were standing here and I said, just stand up right there. If I said, I want you to jump up and I want you to touch your elbow on the ceiling there, what are you going to do?
Get down and try to get up now.
What is he going to have to do that I've talked about? Force where?
Down.
Into the ground. He is going to have to quickly drive his feet into the ground and get off the ground fast. Okay, and my thought is that guys who throw hard, when they say, okay, I got to throw my best fastball here, I got to get after it, what are they going to do? They're just driving that back foot into the ground and getting off of it. Where's this leg coming? If my right leg is going back and down, my right hip, where's this foot going to go? It's coming up. Balance. Okay? So as it comes up, that's how I'm creating power and speed. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay? And you can teach that to guys in 5 minutes. I mean, I've had guys that were 1.5, 1.6 to the plate, and I say, all right, here's what I want you to do. Just take this hit back. Just hinge. They go into a game, they practice it 5 minutes. Go into a game that night, 1.15. It's easy. All right. Thank you very much.